enough with who is buried in Grant's tomb. We spend a lot of time in schools teaching kids about who is buried in Grant's tomb. And it doesn't really matter who's buried in Grant's tomb. What America needs are models of how kids can learn and how teachers can teach in this new era. We got to prepare the kids for this 21st century. And the 21st century is all about mobile computing, mobile technologies. It's about kids working together as teamwork. It's about kids solving problems. It's about kids learning to learn. It's a transformation from learning what to learning how. Faculty member at Yale University many moon ago, I used to do artificial intelligence research, and that's what I did for my dissertation. I did machine learning. So I was always interested in learning, and I woke up one day and I realized that making kids smarter would be a much better use of my time than making computers smarter. So I just stopped doing artificial intelligence and I just started working with kids. About 6 years ago, we came across these little Palm computers. And like a thunderbolt, kaboof, it hit me that these were the computers that could be affordable by kids in the classroom.
We knew that the laptop model or the desktop model would never scale. We were looking at the ratio of students to teachers, and we knew that if technology was ever going to have an effect in education, then every child had to have their own device. It couldn't be something that you only used for 15 minutes a week. And there was no way that that model with the prices of desktops or laptops was ever going to scale. And it made sense to say, let's go in this direction, let's go after that and see if we can't solve the access problem initially with small devices. If we can get one in every child's hand, then we can go from there.
The world is so small.
So again, when you stop and think about the articles, are all Anglo-American colonists going to be happy with this? No. Why or why not? And that again goes into your explanation. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
So you understand what you're going to write?
Yes, ma'am.
But it's up to you to show me how you're going to illustrate it on the sketching. What it should look like, and what you think would do if the colonists were not following the article. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to come around and I'm going to give you a number.
Well, what do you see the students getting out of you're pushing them to use the Novas? What is it that, do you see something different than when you did it without the Novas?
The depth of what they know is much better than ever before that I've seen.
Really? So it is a real noticeable difference.
From last year where we began the year with rarely using it to our end of the year using it more.
Right.
Just having start off feet running. And my kids instantly, they were used to using it, they liked it. Instead of having to, let's read the textbook, go to hear it, but kind of mundane, I would take them to different sources. And so the depth of what they learn is better. We're not, rehashing the same thing over and over.
Do you see the boys, that the technology might benefit the boys more differentially?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know exactly why, but it seems like my boys are more drawn to the technology. They don't balk as much when I ask them to do work on the Nova versus if I gave them a piece of paper and said, okay, you need to write this. They're the ones who stare at me for 15 minutes if I ask them to write a paragraph. How many sentences is it? 10. I don't, until you finish discussing it thoroughly, it's not the answer they want. But if I give it to them on the Nova, I don't get the balking. Oh, okay. And they sit down and type it in. Yes, I do get balking. I'm not going to say they're perfect angels. Right. They're teenagers, but I don't get near as much if I were to hand it out on paper and say, here, pen and paper, write me an essay on.
The leadership in Alvin has a vision. and they said that every child is going to get a computer. But more than that, they're going to get a mobile computer, because that's the future. Laptops are very 90s. They're your daddy's computer. They're your parents' computers. They're not the kids' computers. The way laptops are used, for example, is, oh, let's do a little Google and let's search the internet. So they'll roll the cart of laptops in, they'll do a little Googling, and then they'll just go back to doing what they always did. Or they'll go to a computer lab and they'll write a little story, but then they'll go back to what they're doing. So they're only using the computer for one little portion of the teaching and learning activities in the classroom. What we did with the Palms was also develop little apps that, oh, well, we can do a little animating. We can do a little picture storytelling. That's okay. But what schools really want is a lesson, is a unit, is a project where all the pieces are put together. And just like a business person uses the computer 24/7, they use the computer for everything they do, that's the way we now conceptualize the way you use the mobile computers. That is the kids' digital paper and pencil.
All right, your next word is fly. Fly. Okay, show down.
We used to talk to our colleagues, and they kind of laugh at us, like, that's not a computer. I mean, that won't work. What are you doing? What are you wasting your time? And it really is actually very painful for a while, because we were completely out of the mainstream. People were interested in the mobile devices, but not to use them in schools. Oh my God, that was just unacceptable.
Well, people just didn't take them seriously as computers. So once we got into the Palms, people said, oh, they're the handheld people.
And we still suffer from that labeling now, but things have changed in the last 12 months, 24 months, things have changed. And I think people are starting to see that these mobile, the handheld people, us, are really not talking about handhelds. We were talking about mobile computing. And the fact that whether it's a cellular device and you get access to the internet via a telco, or you get access to the internet via Wi-Fi, is almost irrelevant.
It's going to be amazing to see how many of them go to cell phone computers rapidly, because they're seeing that every child has one, every child knows how to use one. And that's why when we see districts like Keller that are saying, you know what, rather than fight it, let's see if we can't take advantage of it. Let's use the infrastructure that the telco has. Rather than us spending our money building a wireless infrastructure, let's just use the telco's infrastructure.
It's still, that little device can do a tremendous amount. It can access the internet, you can do your writing, you can do your reading, you can do your spreadsheeting, you can do your concept mapping, you can do your animating, you can do everything on that little device. And people have now, it's just like night and day. People are talking to us again, but they stopped talking to us for a couple of years. It was very difficult, actually. Mobile technologies are going to make a bigger change to our lives than the PC and the internet together. I mean, the PC changed everything. The internet changed everything. But the mobile technologies is even bigger than that. And it hasn't even begun those kinds of, the deep kinds of changes that are about to happen. What does the mobility add? It means that it's with me. I can now walk around anywhere and have all this stuff available to me. Whereas before, I would have to go to my office, I'd have to take my laptop out, I'd have to sit at my desktop. There are all these constraints. You now take away all the logistical, space, money constraints, and now this amazing resource is available 24/7 in the palm of your hand.
I allow my students to bring their laptops in anytime, because we'll be talking about something and someone will say, oh gee, wasn't that in, that book? I say, I don't remember, somebody look it up. And So somebody looks it up for me and we answer the question right then because we can. And that is going to be extended even further. It'll be outside the classroom, outside the walls, in the car.
It is what we said at dinner last night about the fact that learning and school are perceived as divorced, but what the mobility is going to do is not make them seem as divorced. One learns, if one is lucky, to argue at the dinner table. You learn how to defend yourself. You learn how to have evidence. Now, with the technology, just like you were saying, Kathy, I mean, you can, with your family or the question in the car, you have this amazing resource. You've never had that resource before.
They call it metaphrase because all the chromatins are lining up in the middle to get ready to split apart.
It's easier to draw it than to actually just read it and try memorizing it.
So when you wake up in the morning and you think about going to school, what do you think?
I'm like excited that I get to use the computers, and it's like usually it would be like a bad morning because I know I have to come to school and do bookwork, but over here I know that I'm going to be working with technology and it's going to be more fun and it's going to make me learn.
You have a lot of technology in this classroom. Do you like to use technology?
I think it comes in phases. First you get it, and then you figure out how it can be used most effectively. And one thing I do is I chart my kids' progress on the class graphs here, and every time I assign something, well, let's say we're going to kind of look at this mitosis thing we're doing on the palms, I'll say, okay guys, what did you like about this and what was kind of hard? But I'll grade their assignment first. So they're looking at it the perspective of, how could I have gotten a better grade?
Yes.
And what happens is this chart shows me if that technology is promoting achievement or if it's technology for technology's sake. That's the goal, to use technology for achievement, not to use technology because it's cool.
Right. It feels like the time is now. The costs are down. People are very, very dissatisfied with the current education system, so they're willing to listen. The kids are different. A whole set of factors have come together.
I think that we both believe that we're really in a position where we can change how education happens.
So there's going to be a range of models, but it's evolution, not revolution. It does keep us up at night. It does keep us driving, though, because we want to make a difference.